Phil and Will are back. Another episode of Survivor Second Chance in the book. Really questionable move here at the end. Who would have thought Joe going home would be questionable? Pretty crazy episode. We got a lot of family love, a lot of kissing, a lot of weirdness.
A lot of I love yous.
A lot of I love yous. A lot of I love yous. This was a entertaining episode, not in the top tier of this season, but it had its moments. You know, it's a classic Survivor episode. So
I enjoyed this episode throughout. I think it's better actually than most of the kind of pre-merge ones where you kind of knew who was going, or it was between two people you didn't. Because I didn't know whether it was going to be Abby or Joe. And I'm sitting there. I really didn't know. From an edit standpoint, it looked like Joe was going home. From like a smart gameplay standpoint, I thought Abby was going home. And we've gotten so much of Abby throughout the season. It would have been fitting to just see her go. She can go at any point. I think the right move would have been to get rid of Abby here.
Abby had to go here. I thought this was a terrible move by the guys. Even if you trust Tasha, her bringing up to you that the girls are trying to form an alliance means that there's probably talk of girls forming an alliance. And when you're this deep in the game, if Tasha's smart, she realizes she can't beat Jeremy or Spencer, and probably not even Keith. And her best bet is to go to the final three with Kimmy and Abby. And I think that Tasha is smart enough to realize that. So for the guys to not vote out Abby here and instead vote out Joe, I thought that was a really bad move on Spencer and Jeremy's part. You keep Joe around one more week. The whole argument that Joe is willing to push himself to passing out to win a challenge, Joe just passed out in a challenge. That's all
he lost.
And lost. Like, this guy is at his weakest right now. I don't know, like if they're athletes, they should know when you pass out the whole next day, you're just spent hydrating and eating and relaxing. You can't do that on the island. Joe's not going to recover in a day. He's not going to be a challenge threat like he was anymore.
Not like
he was. Not like he was.
He recovered pretty quickly. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I think a lot of this came – I think it was a good argument from Kelly Wentworth. The people that wanted Joe out, it makes sense, right? Like, he is giving it his all. He's never not going to give it his all. He is such a strong competitor. I think it was it was really well phrased by Wentworth, and I think it makes a lot of sense. But, yeah, he lost. He lost the challenge. So, I don't know. There's still how many immunities left? There's 4. He's not going to win 4 straight immunities. Like, it's just not going to happen. And we were saying this, way early on, at like final 12 or at the merge at 13. He's not going to win them all. He just lost back-to-back. Like, they can't put him aside. And I'm talking about Jeremy and Spencer here. I think Wentworth, probably MVP this episode, if you ask me, wins the immunity, gets Joe gone. She has the Girls Alliance going at least. I don't trust Tasha. Man, this was a missed opportunity here. And it's crazy that we're saying this because we've been so, gung-ho on when Joe loses, get him out. When Joe loses, get him out. This was the wrong move.
Yeah, and it's great to hear you say this because I've been a little bit higher on Joe, although we have both been saying that he needs to go the first time he loses. But I've been a little bit higher on Joe, and, you've been low on him. This was a dumb move. I don't know what they were thinking with this one. Yeah, he's a huge threat. Yeah, I get that, but they were blinded by it. They were so blinded by the fact that this guy could win every challenge that they didn't think about he's out there against Spencer, Jeremy, and Keith. None of them have passed out yet. He's out there against Wentworth. I mean, she hasn't passed out yet. Tasha hasn't passed out yet. Those are all really strong challenge competitors. Joe is probably going to lose to one of them eventually. If you vote out Abby, the other 6 could all beat Joe.
Yeah, I mean, look who's left. Keith. I mean, Keith is always in it. Like, he is. I mean, so what? He's 52. He outlasted Joe in a very this was a very strength and that's why they did men versus women. This was a very physical challenge based on your physical abilities to do with anything else. And Keith outlasted the dude. I mean, look at Joe. Look at him. And look at Keith. I mean, Keith has got to be a huge threat. And then I'll say this. Even if you think Joe is going to win the next 3 out of 4, or you think he's still this Joey Amazing, whatever you want to call it, which he isn't because he just lost back-to-back challenges and passed out.
And 2 very different challenges, by the way. They weren't similar. One was luck. This one was kind of luck, but it was mainly strength. That's why the girls went out first. Because this was mainly a strength competition. This was all upper body strength.
Yeah, but the feet one isn't luck. That takes skill. That's all your core.
But I'm saying that's a random one is more of what I meant. It's a random challenge. You're not going to get another feet challenge.
Okay, you're not going to get another feet challenge, but you might get something endurance based in your core. I mean, that could happen. That was all just – and you have some hand-eye coordination or foot-eye coordination, as I should say. But you need coordination and you need endurance. But look, even if he is Joey Amazing, the threat of this all-girls alliance is too real to just ignore it. And you can't really trust Tasha. I don't know why. When is Tasha proven to be this trustworthy player? She voted against Fish 2 tribal councils ago. Maybe even on the double episode last week, did she vote Fish in both of them? I know she did in at least one of them.
I believe she did, because I believe in the first one they had it was 5, 2, and 3.
Well, she voted.
It was
Fish
Kimmy, Fish, and Jeremy who voted for Sierra. So Tasha definitely voted for Fish. So that's twice in a row she goes against the alliance, and now she's talking about an all-girls alliance. That's crazy. How do you let that slip?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about this from Tasha's point of view as well. Like, why does she tell them about that? Like, that's that's going to get under their skin. And then she has a confessional. She's like, they might be worried. I don't know. That might have been a bad move. I mean, if you're Tasha here, you want Joe gone, and then you have options. It's always good in the game if you're out there to not have all your eggs in one basket. She can go with the girls' alliance based on who wins immunity or like who's talking to who, or she can go with Spencer and Jeremy. But if you're Spencer and Jeremy here, you have to put yourself in Tasha's brain or put yourself in anyone's brain. Who do you want to go to the end with? It's Kimmy and it's Abby. And if you're Spencer, you have to know people don't want to sit with you. If you're Jeremy, you have to know people don't want to sit with you. Man, they're in a really tough spot. I know we're kind of just bouncing around here, not going in any order. We usually do this in the post-merge episodes, or at least that's been the trend this season. But yeah, let's bring it back to the beginning before we get started. If you want to get your comments in, put them on our last YouTube video. That was the long one of the double recap and then the predictions for this episode. That link is in the description, so comment there. You can tweet at us as well. And then also we are celebrating our 1-year anniversary of Phil and Will. So we thank you. I didn't think we would be doing this after a year, if you had to ask me.
No, I thought that we did 3 episodes of San Juan del Cerro. If you want to watch something funny, go back and watch our first episode. It's terrible.
It's bad.
Terrible. We got a whopping 166 views on that. That's a horrible episode. And out of the 166 who watched that, I'm sorry. That's terrible. But
I haven't gone back and watched it, but that season was bad, and that was like my first time talking about Survivor on any sort of in a podcast, and I was trying to make it seem exciting, and I think I was very not genuine, and I think that it made for a poor podcast. But we've learned a lot, I think, and I think we've gotten better. So thank you for everyone who subscribed. If you're not subscribed, subscribe now. That's all I have to say about that 1-year anniversary. I guess it's kind of a big deal. Not really. Where do you want to start on this episode? I think this episode got off to a really hot start, a very strategic start.
Yeah, what happened before the family visit? I'm drawing a blank right now. I had it in my head, and now I'm drawing a blank. What happened before the family visit? So it was Jeremy and Spencer, mainly, right?
Spencer and Jeremy immediately reconnect, and we talked about this in our prediction episode, that maybe Spencer can just say, look, yeah, I voted out Steven. He was your number one guy, but I can still trust you. And that's what it was. Jeremy did not really care. He was like, okay, it makes sense. Jeremy knew that Steven was a threat. He wasn't upset at all. So they were good. They were on solid ground. They pretty much said the same thing we've been saying all season. Joe loses. He goes home. And then Kimmy and Wentworth, I think, the 2 on the hammock. And that's when the girl alliance comes back. And this was so funny because Kimmy's the one that hated the girls alliance when Monica brought it up. So it was very kind of ironic to see her bring this up and get so excited about it. And when you hear this for the first time, we didn't even see this one coming. This makes a ton of sense. If you are any of the women on that beach right now, makes, because you're getting rid of Spencer, Jeremy, those are the people you're putting on the bottom, and you're aligning yourself with Abby, Kimmy. I mean, it makes too much sense not to happen.
I mean, it has all I'm going to say with this is if you look at it realistically, and this is not based on favorites or anything like that. If you look at it realistically, Keith is the most likable person out there. Jeremy, Spencer, and Kelly Wentworth are playing the 3 best games, and Joe has one of the best cases to win. So if you're the girls, you have to sit there and say, well, Kelly Wentworth's really the only one who's going to be a challenge to beat. Those other 4 guys are all going to beat me. It's just going to happen. So this makes so much sense, and it's great on Kimmy finally coming out, being the strategic player, finally doing something. What I'm happy to see here is her coming out and doing something, taking the initiative and saying, look, all girls alliance. What I think happened here is it didn't make sense back when Monica brought it up for her because Kimmy was still looking at it in long term. Now it makes 100% sense for Kimmy to go with this. And if Monica was still in the game, I'm pretty sure Kimmy would have said, all right, girls alliance time.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see Kimmy bring this up and not go home. Because when I start hearing Kimmy start talking strategy, that's a red flag. I think, wow, this is probably Kimmy's boot episode. I mean, as it progressed, clearly she wasn't in any danger. But that was kind of jarring to, whoa, we're starting off the episode with Kimmy's strategy talk. And no one's coming up to her. This is her active plan. So I do give Kimmy props. She is playing a good game. It didn't make sense when Monica brought it up because it was so early. She had her numbers already. So I really like this here from Kimmy. And that was before the challenge. Everyone seemed down with that. So we have this girls' alliance brewing. We have Jeremy and Spencer saying they want to get rid of Joe. And then we go to the family visit. I love this family visit. Sometimes when this stuff happens, it's like, okay, I get it. You're sad. I can't really ever put myself in a spot like the survivors. I've never been out there. Do you sometimes feel like, all right, like enough is enough? Like I know you're sad, but do we really need to see you cry for this long? I didn't feel that this time. I felt like everyone, I mean, they're miserable, and it was good to see other survivors come back that we've seen play the game before. I think that probably helped me with it a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. This one just felt more genuine to me. Maybe because we've been hearing about it all season, as opposed to some seasons we haven't heard about it that much. My all-time favorite of these is in Fans versus Favorites, when Parvati's dad and James's dad and Eric Reichenbach's brother. That was fantastic to me. That's my favorite one, and none of them were upset. And I love that one because it didn't try to get too emotional. This one I felt like forced it a little bit, but I also felt like Jeremy's reaction, Joe's reaction, Abby's reaction, all of these reactions were completely genuine, and nobody was trying to ham it up. Like, I thought that this was like actually like great to see this side of all of the survivors. I mean, Abby dropping to her knees when they say her mom's coming in was like fantastic.
Yeah, no, everyone was good here. And when I'm saying I don't really feel much in these family visits in the past, it's not that I think people are like disingenuous. I just can't like empathize with it. I just don't know what it's like. I mean, you could say when we were in college, we don't see our parents for 40 days. Like, I don't cry when I go home and see them. I mean, I know they're out there and they're with nobody, and I think that's what it is. You're just seeing someone you know and someone you love. I think that's what it is. And I know they can't talk to them on the phone or anything like that, but I can't really put myself in that position. It's really hard to. But yeah, seeing everyone here was great. The Jeremy thing, I loved his line, like, "I'm having a son, that's wild." Like that was fun to see. I was really hoping Wes would make it out, but instead we got Keith's wife we haven't seen before, so that was good. We got Dale back in the mix. Kelly seemed more excited. Like, she grabbed Spencer, like really, like she like rubbed Spencer's chest when Jeff said family visit, and then she sees Dale and she like puts her arm around him and is like kind of smiling. She didn't seem like all that excited to see Dale.
I thought she was pumped. I was actually surprised. I thought she was really into the fact that Dale was there. I thought she was really excited. I don't know what you're talking about. I thought she was like really emotional. I was surprised because Dale screwed her game up the first time. But it was great to see both of them out there again. I loved seeing Dale. Dale's the man.
Yeah, no, I like Dale, but I don't know. Watch it again, and especially after like kind of the first grading, she's just kind of standing looking around. Like, it didn't seem. And I mean, not that she's going to be like Jeremy Val level. It's not like she's having a baby or anything. But man, we can talk about Spencer here. Wow. Do I need to get myself on Survivor? I mean, that's what I need to do now. Because he only has that girlfriend because he was on Survivor.
Hey, don't be mean. Don't be mean. But yeah, she's a very pretty lady.
Yeah, no, she's. I don't know the lady at all.
Incredibly impressed with Spencer.
But Spencer does not have that girlfriend if he's not on Survivor. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying there's more incentive for me to like go and get on Survivor and be the underdog.
No, that's cool. I mean, I'm not going to say anything because I don't know Spencer, I don't know Marcella, but yeah, that was a little shocking. She was really, really attractive. Good for Spencer. One thing I do have to draw attention to here, though, and my friend, I guess, is watching the episode now, and she just asked me the question, so I really have to draw attention to this. Did Joe kiss his dad on the mouth? Now, this happened many times here. Was the Joe and his dad thing a little weird to you? Like, I'm not saying it was creepy, but was it a little weird to you, and did that feel like a little, like, just off? Like, how, like, his dad was, like, tickling him when they cut to a commercial break, and, like it just felt really weird. I don't know what the editors were going for with this one.
I mean, the editors can't add in hands tickling someone. That's not editing. I mean, they obviously have to choose to show it. The kiss on the lips thing, I mean, I don't take any, like, that. You go in and, like, you don't know which cheek you're going to, like, who's going to put their lips on.
They did it, like, 4 times, Will. Well, they did it like 4 times.
I thought it was just that when they departed, like he
No.
just went in for the hug.
No,
and
they did it like
leaned
4 times. It was just about every time.
I got to rewatch it then. I wasn't paying that close attention to. I mean, Jeff said they have a strong relationship. I think you hit the nail on the head, though. I mean, we kind of saw this coming with Joe's opening confessional saying he didn't make it to the family visit. He gets voted out after the family visit. His dad gets to come back to camp, all this stuff. So that fit in well nicely with, like, you know, the payoff there. And then obviously Spencer, I haven't said I love you, which, I mean, do you invite someone out on your Survivor trip if you haven't told them you love them? Like,
No.
imagine dating someone, right? Dating someone well enough that you're going to say, you're the person I want to come with me if I make it this far enough on Survivor. And you can't tell that person I love you. Like, someone else deserves her spot then, if that was the first time.
You know what? I guess, but I mean, who else was going to come out for Spencer? I guess it would be like a parent or something. So I'm totally down with him bringing his girlfriend out there. I think they've been dating for a while. So
that's what I mean.
Maybe he's just a weird dude. I feel his pain. I'm like the same way as him. I feel his pain 100%. I'm not that emotional of a guy, so I totally feel his pain.
It's not even about not being emotional. Like, if I'm the girl, if I'm the chick, and I'm dating this guy who's going on Survivor, who, you know, she probably has seen Cagayan, you know, probably watched him play, and you've been dating, and he's like, do you want to be my Survivor reward or like my family visit? And if I'm her, I'm going, well, you got to say I love you first, because that's a big step in a relationship, inviting to the Survivor family visit. You hear what I'm saying?
I guess this is a good question. What comes first, saying I love you or inviting somebody on Survivor?
And I'm
what
saying
really comes
you have
first?
to say I love you first. Like, look at the people who come on. Like, you have Jeremy and his pregnant wife. You have Joe and his dad that are kissing left and right. And then you have Spencer. Like, it sounds like this girl who's been dating, I guess, not long enough to have said I love you. I mean, it's a little off. I don't want to call BS on it, because it was like he said it so genuinely, like, I have problems with this. I haven't said I love you. But remember, when he said that, he was trying to build a relationship with Jeremy. So that could have been all talk.
You know, here's what I'm going to say about Spencer. Everything that he says that is emotional seems forced because he's so not emotional. And so I'm totally okay with this. I don't think he was forcing it. I don't think it was disingenuous. I just think that it always seems that way. We were talking about this earlier in the season when he was trying to talk to Jeremy and everything, saying, like, I'm making relationships. Like, here's this whole story. Like, everything seems disingenuous, but I think that's just how Spencer comes across when he tries to get emotional, because he doesn't know how to do it.
No, I know, and I'm not saying he's disingenuous. I'm just saying, like, it's not even that. I think it's like it might have been a lie to Jeremy when he said, I haven't told my girlfriend I love you. I think it might have been a lie. And I think then when the first thing he says to her is, I love you. And she's just like, yeah, duh, like, and hugs him. And she doesn't go, oh, my God.
It didn't seem like that was like the first time. And she was like, oh, my God, he's never said this
That's
before.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
I think it was fabricated for, like, this arc of, like, man, I regret not saying that. Now I'm out here, and these elements are getting to me. So I kind of see through it a little bit. It might be true, but a little odd there. Fun family visit, though. Reward
Great challenge.
Yeah, fun challenge. I like the.
They should do this for immunity sometime. Like, this is what we were talking about. A little, like, getting moving, doing something.
Exactly. I totally agree. The last 2 rewards have been, like, good immunity challenges. The only weird thing, I guess, was, like, the one-word phrase that you have to put down. I mean, why can't you just put them in a line? I mean, it doesn't really add anything when you have to stack them on top of each other.
I know why they did it. It's because it's harder. Like, when it's easier to make a mistake with what letter you put in when it's going up and down, because your mind doesn't normally read like that. It reads left to right. So because of that, if you do it left to right, it's easier to spell it right. If you do it this way, it's easier for somebody to mess up the spelling and somebody to look over and be like, oh my God, the word's nourishment, but they messed up where the U and the O are.
So you're telling me that's how they want someone to win, just by looking at somebody else's?
No, I just think that I just think it adds a different element to it. It's harder to actually, like, think about it, especially when you haven't eaten and you're tired and stuff. It's going to be harder to think about it going from up to down, especially when you're spelling it backwards.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But when you're eating and you're tired, all you're thinking about is nourishment. So that word should be at the tip of your tongue.
I don't know if you're thinking nourishment or just food. I don't know if you're thinking the word nourishment. You know?
I loved Abby putting the TION. That not only is, I think that's really smart. Like, when you see a group of letters that fit together, like especially a suffix like that, like TION, that's good by Abby. I was very impressed. Then she said, I'm going for redemption.
None of those letters were there.
I mean, you had an R in there. You had an M. You had an E. Well, I know obviously there weren't all the letters, or would have spelled the darn word. But I think there was enough there. So I do give Abby props for that. I don't want that to be some Abby's an idiot, because I do respect that strategy of finding the TION. So
at least she tried to spell a word. Everybody else just stood there. You can't stand there and stare at it for that long. You got to do something. And I agree with you. I respect her for trying.
Yeah, I don't want her to be the butt of the joke because like she got the. I mean, I think that was a really good effort. So I just want to say, give Abby props for that. Kelly Wentworth's picks here. What do we think?
All right, here's what I would have done if I'm Kelly Wentworth. I think that you got to go Joe. So I'm surprised that you picked Joe after Jeff said you can pick one more, because I would have picked Joe first. I think Joe is an important one to pick just because he was talking about it the entire time, and it seems like he was talking about it to everybody. I guess I would take Kimmy because it seemed like Kimmy was talking about it a lot. I would take Jeremy because there's no way he's been emotional the entire show, so there's no way he hasn't gotten emotional like that with them. Other than that, I think otherwise it didn't really matter. Kind of surprised she didn't take Jeremy. Kind of surprised she didn't take Spencer, just because Spencer was like the reason that they got rid of Steven last time. Otherwise, it easily would have just been Joe. But then again, it is just Spencer and his girlfriend as opposed to somebody who's married or a father-son or blood relative.
Yeah, there's two ways to look at this. There's the one, what's the most important relationship, and you got to look at Jeremy, like the wife is pregnant, all that stuff. You probably go him, but that's probably the worst strategic move because that's your arch nemesis. I mean, Kelly is opposite sides of Jeremy. There are only 8 people left, and then you can look at it from the strategic point of view and say, well, who do I need to keep close to me? Who do I not already have? Spencer is the one who's like close with Jeremy, close with Tasha, but he's voted with you. He voted with you to get rid of Wigglesworth. He voted against Fishbach 2 trials in a row. So he's been with you. If you want to lock him down, that might be a good way to do it. However, it's his girlfriend that, they don't even say I love you, or at least he hasn't reciprocated that until like right now on the beach. So there's 2 ways to look at it. For both of them not to go, it's a little bit odd. I do understand, I understand the Joe thing. I understand Keith. I think if there had been some food involved, it would have been different too. Like if it was a big barbecue meal. Are you there, Phil?
I'm here. I'm listening to you.
Okay, I'm making sure you're not freezing. Sometimes I go on and I don't know if you're going to.
No, I'm listening.
But sometimes you get a meal with your family visit, and if this is some big meal, Joe is not going on the reward. He's not spending time with his family. No matter how much he's talked about it, they all want him to lose immunity. So I think that had something to do with it as well. I was totally fine with her picks there. Just maybe, include Spencer in there if you want to lock down his vote. But you got the Girls Alliance going anyway. She didn't really need it.
Yeah, the reason I said Joe the most was just because I can hear myself. Turn me down. The reason I said Joe the most is just because they weren't in alliance with Joe last week. And like maybe you just try to get in the good graces of Joe, because if he wins immunity, you want to make sure, if he does go on a little immunity run here, that you have him in your good, like he's on your side. So I do agree with her taking him, but when it came down to those last 4 and it was you can take one more, I was shocked she didn't take Spencer and took Joe instead. Because without Spencer, her whole game is blown up right now, and she's definitely on the wrong side of the numbers.
Yeah, I do like your point there for Jeremy. Like if he wins immunity, he's still a vote. So I didn't think of that. That's a good point.
Yeah. Let's talk about this. I mean, there wasn't really much to talk about after that. I mean, Joe's dad, like talking about how like, Joe's his idol. I mean, that's cool. Like good for Joe and his dad. I'm glad like, they bonded and stuff. The tickling got mad weird. Didn't like that. Who knows what they were talking about? Maybe it was important. Maybe he was telling him like a spider story or something. Who knows?
Maybe he was teaching him a new tickling technique, and the only way he could do that is to tickle.
Yeah, my dad used to teach me tickling techniques. That's how it always goes down. Yeah, no,
that's
I hear
classic, you. Yeah, toss the pigskin around, throw a baseball, and then learn to tickle.
Learn to tickle. But they didn't really do much with the loved ones here after the fact, which I was kind of surprised at. I don't know if it was just in the looking for time here. But they didn't really do much with it. And I was kind of surprised because normally there's like these huge like emotional like loved one things, and it seemed like they all just kind of sat around, ate barbecue. Nobody was talking to each other. Nobody was really doing anything. And then we didn't even get them saying goodbye, which is always like a huge deal, at least in recent seasons since the beginning. It's always been a huge deal when the loved ones leave. Oh, bye. Like, this is emotional. There was none of that.
Wow, you're right. I really didn't even I didn't think of that. Especially because now you say food. Now I remember Jeff saying like American barbecue. I don't even like remember them eating food, honestly.
I don't remember what they ate.
Yeah, and I said that would play a role in taking Joe. I guess it didn't because Kelly did end up taking Joe. But I think this is, I mean, if I have any explanation for this, it's that they spent a lot more time on the intros. Like they showed everybody getting a long time when they first saw them to give everybody time. And maybe this has something to do with Jeremy didn't go on it. Spencer didn't go on it. These are two big players that have been edited very heavily. So they're going to focus more on the players who didn't win the challenge early before they said goodbye to their loved ones. So that by the time reward's over, the loved ones are at camp, they just kind of brush it off. But you're right. There was no big goodbye or anything. Nothing too big there. But we have bigger fish to fry. We have the immunity challenge. This one was a fun one. I know we've been saying we like the movement challenge. It's been all endurance, all balance. This one was fun. This was like I did not know who was going to win this one. It could have been Joe. It could have been Keith. The whole time I was waiting for one of these statues to fall and like knock something out. It was only made of wood. They even included, Jeff said, like, watch out when it falls. So I was like, wow, it's definitely going to fall and hit somebody. That ended up not being the case.
Yeah, I noticed when Jeff said that too, and that's exactly what I was thinking. I like this challenge. They definitely had to do a guy and a girl win it because I think otherwise it does favor the men too much just with upper body strength. But was this the same one that they did back in Samoa, or was this different?
Man, I think we've seen this multiple times now. Like the whole stick thing where you put one under and like go like this. I'm just trying to think. It's a very familiar look, and I can't tell you exactly when I've seen it.
Because I know when Russell versus Brett back in Samoa, that was like one of the best challenges ever. I love that challenge. It's a shame Brett was so under-edited because it could have been the ultimate good versus evil. But that challenge was amazing, and this one kind of reminded me of it. I'm not sure if it was the exact same thing, but how it was Joe versus Keith, and if Joe loses, he's going home. And here's Keith, who's just like this old guy who is so good at these challenges for really no reason. He doesn't look fit. I mean, I know he's a firefighter. He lives down in like Louisiana, so he does, he's probably like a hunter and all that stuff. But it's crazy to see these two going against each other, knowing what's at stake. I feel so bad for Joe to go down the way he did. That sucks. I mean, it would have sucked worse for him to get pulled from the game. At least he could fight a little bit. But it totally sucks that you lose that challenge because your body actually failed you. Like, not because you lost concentration or, you dropped it or something. You actually black out and have no idea you lose the challenge until you wake up. That's a terrible way to go down.
It's a terrible way to go down, but I think it fits Joe, and I think it's a good send-off for him. I think it's better for him to have gone down that way than they'll just straight up lose to Keith, just like having it tip over and then get voted out. I think this was like, wow, he really did give it his all here. Like, he gave it 100%. He wasn't going to win the challenge. Keith wasn't going to pass out. He literally went till he passed out. I think it speaks well for Joe. I didn't think it was going to be a pass out. I was waiting for one of those blocks to fall over. And as people kept going down and down, I'm like, when is this darn thing going to fall?
And then what I started to think was going to happen was that Joe was going to lose or Keith was going to lose, and whoever won was going to let their guard down and be like excited they won, and they were going to drop their own on their head. Because it didn't look like anybody was dropping them that far away. And Keith and Joe were way too far from each other. So I started thinking whoever won was going to accidentally knock themselves out.
I thought it was going to be a loser, honestly. I was waiting for like Keith or Joe's because they are so high in the air. Like, they are so high. They were going.
But they were both staring so intently at it, you would know where it's falling as soon as it's falling.
And that's the reason why I think it wouldn't have been the winner, the person that lost. Like, the thing falling down wasn't going to hit the same person because you're looking up, you're staring right at the thing, and it's so high. I thought Keith was going to drop his, and it was going to hit Joe. And Joe would win immunity. I am happy Keith won. I had the prop bet for that. I had 3 points on it. I think I'm now beating in the prop bet game, but I got a lot of backtracking to do to keep up with those scores. Let's go post-challenge here. Not much. I mean, literally, it was –
yeah.
What's that?
We pretty much talked about it. It's just Joe versus Abby.
Well, we can talk about this. Like, Joe brings up that Abby's a threat, and at first I was like, Joe, what are you smoking, Joe? Like, give me some of that. But then he says she's a meta threat, essentially, that she's so much not a threat that it makes her threatening because she can take up one of those final 3 seats. It's a great argument. We talked about this a lot preseason, that maybe people like Kimmy, maybe people like Monica, maybe people like Abby or Cass, maybe, you can take them at the end, but maybe that's the problem. Maybe no one's going to vote him out. That's a spot that you can't have. So it was really interesting to see that actually come up and become an argument, not that that's just talked about on podcasts or like on blogs and stuff, but that's actually talked about in the show, especially from a guy like Joe, who, we have said that he's not the most strategic. He clearly is thinking. Like I got a lot from Joe tonight. It's a shame that he went home because he played hard this episode.
I really like the way Joe is playing. I thought this was a great conversation that he had here, or a great argument that he had here, because anybody who says they're in a final 3 with you, if that final 3 doesn't include Abby Maria, you have to almost assume that they're lying, because that's the only reason Abby Maria is staying around. She's staying around because people know they can beat her at the end. So if somebody comes up to you and says, I want to be in a final 3, like Tasha did with Jeremy and Spencer. Jeremy and Spencer have to be sitting there going, why would she want to go with us when she can go with Kimmy and Abby Maria? Why would she want to go with us? And now she wants to get rid of Joe and she wants to keep Abby Maria around, and there's talks of a girl alliance. This blew my mind that they actually didn't put up more of a fight to get rid of Abby Maria. Bad move by the guys here, because all you have to say to Tasha is, we want to get rid of Abby Maria now so that there is no girls alliance. We'll get rid of Joe next time. We're still going to be the final 3. And yeah, Joe can keep winning, but as long as you say to Tasha, we are going to be the final 3, she knows then that once Joe loses, even if Joe makes it to final 4 and loses for the first time, they are still going to vote Joe off instead of Tasha.
Yeah, I wonder how this went. The way it seemed, at least from like Spencer's voting confessional, his shadow was up, which was kind of, see, I can get a shadow up here. That he said, this is either a big mistake, like a terrible move, or the winning move. And it seemed that he actually was controlling this. I don't know if that was the case. There's a really good chance that Tasha said, no, we're voting Joe. You really don't have the power. Like, I am going to go vote Joe. Abby, Kelly, Kimmy, they are all voting Joe. The best you can do is pull over Keith and then have a tie. Like that's it. And no one's going to go to Rock. So I don't know how much this was in their hands to decide. And maybe that's why Joe ends up going home. Maybe we're sitting here criticizing Spencer and Jeremy for, not pulling through this Abby thing. Maybe they wanted to. That's, I think, a possibility.
It's definitely a possibility. My whole thing here is, Jeremy still has an idol, and I'm not saying that he was going to play it, but they should have at least pushed the issue. I think they should have tried to push it a little bit harder to get Abby out. Not that he's going to play an idol to save Joe, but I think you have to push Tasha almost to her breaking point where she actually breaks down and says that. And I think they would have shown us that had she said that. Like, I know that they still want to keep it in the air that Abby could go home, but I think that they would have shown us, like, Tasha being like, look, I don't want to do this. And if she is doing that, then the guys have to be even more worried that an all-girl alliance is going to happen. And right now, I think Jeremy and Spencer are actually in a situation where the only way Jeremy's going to be able to get the numbers back in his favor, he might have to play an idol here. I would not be surprised if this girls' alliance thing really did happen.
So you're telling me, I just want to get this straight, because I'm kind of agreeing with you here. This might make sense. As absurd as this sounds, you're telling me that if you're out there, and let's just put yourself, you're in Jeremy's shoes, and you and Spencer are talking to Tasha, and you say, we want to vote Abby. She's, too much of a threat to get to the end. She's an easy final 3 seat. No one's going to vote for her. And Tasha says, no, I want Joe out. Joe is an immunity threat. We have to get him. We have to get him. Like, what do you do after that? You have this idol in your pocket. Are you saying, and I know you haven't said this yet, but are you saying, because this sounds crazy, that you would play your idol for Joe, one of the biggest threats in the game, waste it on yourself? You now have 0 idols just to make sure this girls' alliance doesn't happen?
No, I'm not saying I would do that. I would almost. I'm not even saying I don't know. I wouldn't. What?
I'm not even saying that's like stupid. It's just like it's absurd how that could even be a possibility, because it makes a little bit of sense.
It does make a little bit of sense, and you have to be looking at it. If Tasha is so set on getting rid of Joe, yeah, I know Joe's the biggest threat. But if Tasha is so set on getting rid of Joe and not Abby, you have to be sitting there thinking, wow, she mentioned the girls' alliance. This girls' alliance could be a real thing. And yeah, you might not want to play it on Joe because Joe's not definite, like not one of your closest allies. You could easily go on an immunity run to win the game. But to get Joe out of the game now, if there is a girls' alliance, Jeremy's going to have to use the idol anyway. And now the only way he's going to be able to turn this game around is if he actually plays the idol before the girls can vote out another guy. And if Tasha was pushing that hard to get rid of Joe, you have to be worried that these girls are really a thing. And hope that if you do something for Joe and keep him around, maybe Joe says, I owe it to Jeremy and Spencer now. These girls wanted me out the entire time. I kind of owe it to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, and it is now very scary where they are now. Like, I don't envy their position. I mean, do you trust Tasha? Because you have to think about this too. The fact that Tasha mentioned it, that's almost kind of indicating that she isn't a part of it. Because if she was a part of it, she wouldn't have even mentioned it.
You know, though, but the thing is, when you mention something to somebody, it's normally like you're almost trying to feel them out and see what they think about it. And I know, obviously, the guys aren't going to be down for an all-girls alliance, but it's almost like she wanted to bring it up to them to see how they reacted, and they reacted the worst possible way that she could have hoped for. Like, that was as bad as it could have been. Like, she was like, oh, God, now they know. Like, now they're, like, probably worried about it, all this stuff. I don't think she wanted to worry them. I think she was feeling them out, though.
Yeah, I think, honestly, and I've always said Tasha's a good game player. I just think this was like a slip of the tongue. Like, you know, the girls, they want to do an all-girls alliance, which isn't going to happen. But, like, she was just kind of talking off the cuff. But you can't expect any guy to hear that. And this goes both ways. If you talk about an all-guys alliance and you bring that up to a chick that you're in an alliance with, they're going to freak out too, because it just means you're 100% not in it. Like, even if you mention, oh, there's a buy-on thing going, oh, but I was to KO and I maybe switch. Like, I can kind of sneak into a buy-on thing. If it's an all-girls alliance, you can't, like, you're not going to become a chick. You're not going to become a girl. You're not going to, like, there's nothing you can do. So I understand why they freaked out. They should have freaked out more and voted out Abby. We don't know exactly what happened there. My bet is that Tasha forced them to. But, yeah, I think this was more a slip on Tasha's part. She did not mean to do this.
Yeah, I kind of see that too, although I do think that she might have been trying to bring it up to gain trust and not realizing, like, wow, now they have another thought running through their head, and you're not, and you're a girl. Like, no matter what you want to do, an all-girls alliance includes you, Tasha. So, like, yeah, you might have been trying to gain their trust, but that has to freak them out. That's going to freak them out no matter what. So it might have been a slip. It might not have.
Well, I think that what you said it makes sense too. That it was like she was trying to prove that she's trustworthy by kind of relaying their plans to them, saying, "Look, this is what they're up to. I'm showing you my trust by, you know, kind of spilling their beans."
Yeah. No, that's exactly probably what she was trying to do. Who knows how it actually worked? Anyway, Joe goes home. Landslide vote, wasn't dramatic. You kind of know Joe's going home almost the entire episode. Probably one of the weaker votes, even though I know pre-merge there was a couple iffy ones. But
I like this one because I thought it made too much sense for Abby to go. And the way this season's been going, it's been so like it can kind of go any way at any tribal council. I was like, man, Abby going could really go here. I said this at the beginning. From an edit, yeah, Joe was going to go, but we got so much of Abby early. We didn't really need any more of her. I thought Abby could go. I really did. I enjoyed this episode thoroughly.
Okay. I mean, we'll see how it moves forward. I hope the guys can find a way to make it out, considering it's just going to be more entertaining. It's going to be a better finale if Jeremy and Steven or Jeremy and Spencer, sorry. If Jeremy and Spencer are both there. I hope Jeremy, Spencer, Wentworth, and Tasha make it to the final or to the finale. Whoever goes next week, sorry you didn't make the finale. The finale is only in 2 weeks. We only have 2 episodes left total of this season. So, you know, whoever doesn't make it through to the finale, I'm hoping that it's one of Keith, Kimmy, or Abby. And I'm hoping it's Abby, because if Keith goes next week, I think that Jeremy and Spencer are in a lot of trouble.
Right. Let's get to the comments here. I think we did a good job kind of covering everything.
We always do a good job.
I think, well, not always. Sometimes we miss stuff. I think we got everything there. Let's roll through these comments. If we've already answered the question, we can skip the comment. I mean, we get so many of them now. Like, what do you think about the decision to not vote out Abby? Like, we talked probably a good 15 minutes about that already. Yeah. So we're not going to – if that's one of the comments, I don't know if that is yet.
All right, yeah. But, all right, so Mel starts off. My roommate says Kimmy is such a hypocrite. She got Monica out for trying to start an all-girl alliance, and now she wants to start one. I don't think this is Kimmy being a hypocrite. I just think that at the time – like, I don't want people to be like, oh, man, Kimmy voted somebody out for this exact reason. But I think that now it lines up for her to make the all-girl alliance. Back then, Jeremy and Steven are her closest allies. Why would she want to make an all-girl alliance? She needed Jeremy and Steven to get this far in the game.
Yeah, it's not hypocritical at all. It's like saying, Kimmy, do you want a slice of pizza? But she's full. She just ate. She says, no, I don't want pizza. I'm full. But if you offer when she's hungry, then yeah, she's going to say she wants the pizza. And that's not being a hypocrite. It's just that one time it worked for her and one time it didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Mel, do you think Tasha had a better chance of making it to the final tribal sticking with the boys or the girls? I think Tasha has a good chance to make the final tribal no matter what.
She's in a good spot, and I wish she was kind of edited more to be a possible winner. She's probably number 4 right now, still behind Jeremy Spencer and Wentworth, because she is in a good spot. She is right in the middle. I mean, it's there's 3 guys. I mean, then there's the 4 girls, but she's kind of that 4th girl. She's in the middle. She can go either way.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I do wish that they would have edited her a little bit more positive, like bigger edit. Because, I mean, if she's sitting there at the final 3 against Wentworth or Jeremy or Spencer, you have to know she's not going to win. The only way that Tasha wins right now is if she's in the end with Abby and Kimmy or Abby and Keith or Kimmy and Keith. Like, that's the only way that it would make sense in the, the storyline of the show. We talked a lot about, do we think Joe should have gone? But in terms of, it says, are there other threats that should have gone out before him? Joe was probably still the biggest threat, right? But
I am surprised how little Jeremy's name, not just this episode, but over the course of the entire post-merge game, that Jeremy's name has not really come up once.
It's very true. It's very true. I'm surprised, too. Like, nobody's voting for him. I think Sierra talked about it in one of her exit interviews. I haven't really read the exit interviews.
No, yeah, people bring it up, but they talk about it. They say Jeremy's a big threat. He's just never getting votes. He's never on the block. He's had to play an idol once for his ally, not himself. It is pretty crazy. He's playing a great game right now.
Yeah. Ash, now that Joe is gone, any other ideas on what Savage meant about something happening on Survivor that hasn't happened before? Because this throws out the chance of somebody winning 6 challenges, unless Keith wins them all to the final, which I think still would only be 5. What do you think Savage was talking about?
I mean, I said at the time when you first read the comment, I said I think there might be a tie at Final Tribal Council. That's still my bet. That's something big enough we're saying. Because some people would say, oh, it's the vote steal. It's like, yeah, that's the first time a vote steal's ever been, but that's not the first advantage. It's not the first twist. Like, that stuff like that has happened before, especially with the extra vote coming last season. That's why my money was always on the tie, and it still is.
All right. That's as best. I don't have anything better than that. So let's see. We talked about the girls' alliance. And Curtis, if Joe didn't pass out and had 1 immunity, who do you think would have gone home? I think Abby. I think they would have pulled in Tasha and the 4 guys, and Tasha would have voted Abby.
Yeah, I think so too. Definitely Abby goes.
Because it seemed like there was a clear division here, and even Keith voting for Tasha, which was so random. Oh, okay. You're doing the chicken dance from Arrested Development. Go ahead.
No, go for it. No, I'm just saying. I was going to say, who else could it be? Like, who would they make it between? Because they always go 1, 2. It has to be A or B. If Joe's immunity, like, who's the B? Because Abby's the A.
Jeremy. I think it's Abby or Jeremy, because I think the girls would try to stick together, but I think Jeremy has enough alliances where Spencer really was just gunning for Steven. He wasn't gunning for Jeremy. I think that Tasha would have stuck with Jeremy in this situation. And even if Jeremy was going to go, he would have played the idol. So I think Abby goes home no matter what on this one. Had Joe lost or won. Let's see here. Hang on. So Caitlyn seems like Tasha is holding quite a lot of power in the game right now. Don't think she quite understands how to use it. Think that's pretty accurate when she tried to talk to Spencer and Jeremy. I think that was just a mistake.
Honestly, if she doesn't bring up the girls' alliance, they vote out Joe 100%, and then it's just like her in the middle, and the guys don't even know that it's an option for her. So, I mean, that's how you would do it. She still is in a pretty good position, though.
Yeah. No, she is. She definitely is in a good position, but yeah, she's giving away too much information. Caitlyn, again, who is Keith loyal to? Is he the potential swing vote going into the next episode? The problem with Keith being the swing vote is he's a guy. So and there's less guys than girls. So if the girls want to team up, then he's not going to be the swing vote. I don't think Keith's loyal to anybody, though. I think Keith is just kind of sputtering through this game.
Keith is a pretty good player. He just goes with the numbers. He just goes with the numbers, doesn't tick anyone off. I mean, he doesn't play the winning game, but he wins. He plays like the day 39 game pretty darn well.
He does. He really does. And he plays it. People might look at him as a goat to get to the end, but he's not Philip Shepard. He's not Dreams. Like, he's not Cassandra
Abby.
from way back then. Who?
Abby.
Abby, exactly. I mean, she never sat in the final three. I'm trying to think of people who actually sat in the final three. But, like, Jervis, huge goat. Like, there's so many huge goats. Keith's not really a goat. Keith is playing the game. He really is playing the game. He's just not playing the best game. He's playing it the best he knows how.
I think Keith would have been good in, like, the first 5, maybe 7 seasons of Survivor. Like, he could have won with how he plays. He's just super likable. He's just not active enough to have a resume at Final Tribal.
No, that's pretty much it. And they're not going to vote for somebody like him to win in this type of season. Giovanni Oriana, do you think Spencer should have aligned with Abby, Kelly, and Kimmy and Keith instead of Jeremy and Tasha? I don't even know where the alliance is right now. I mean, I guess it's Spencer, Jeremy, and Tasha, but
yeah, that's them. That's the buy-on. And then I think Kimmy seemed to be with them for a while, but the all-girls thing is real. This isn't some hypothetical all-girls thing. We saw it happen. It was formed. Tasha's the only one that's not fully on board. I mean, we know Abby and Kelly are together. Kimmy approaches them with the idea, so that's 3. So all they need is Tasha. So that's pretty much – it's boys versus girls and Tasha in the middle at this point. This is as clear-cut alliances as we've ever had post-merge.
No, that's true. And, I think that it's either going to be Keith, Jeremy, Spencer, or one of the girls next week. Not Tasha. Like, one of the girls that's not Tasha. We have a good one here with Jimmy O'Connor. I agree with you guys on the move. Spencer and Jeremy are lucky that flips happen all the time at 7. Maybe 2 idols play next week. Now, that is something that could seriously happen because if Jeremy thinks all the girls are voting for him, he could play his idol. And then all of the guys could vote for Kelly Wentworth because she's the biggest threat out of all of them. And Kelly Wentworth could play her idol knowing that they're coming for her on that vote.
And maybe this is what Savage was talking about, that every vote is nullified by an idol, and they have to re-vote with there's going to be a person with immunity, Jeremy immune, Kelly immune, and then there's just 7 people voting again for 4 people.
That would be crazy. That would be nuts.
That could be it.
That could very well be it. And that could happen next week.
I like the tie, though. I still like it.
I know you do. All right, well, I guess this is Giovanni Oriana. Would you have voted out Joe and take Abby to the end or vote out Abby? I mean, I would definitely 100% vote out Abby. I wouldn't take her to the end in any situation anyway. I think she's gone too far. She's too much of a threat. Even in your own alliance, she's too much of a loose cannon. I wouldn't want to align with her.
Yeah, but we're at final 7 here, final 8 here. I can see if I'm like around that late and she's around, like she is a vote and she is a GOAT. So
yeah,
if you can get it done, yes, but I wouldn't put that doesn't need to be your goal. Get to the end with Abby. I would totally vote it out her here. If I'm Spencer Jeremy, I think this was, by the way, like we keep saying, Spencer and Jeremy, this was bad for them. This was a great move for Kelly and Kimmy. And I guess the only reason we haven't talked about this being a great move is because it is very obvious. Like Joe lost, get him out. Like it's been talked about forever. This wasn't some big move. Like this was the easy vote.
Yeah, no, that's true, and that's why we're not saying it's a great move, even though it was a great move for the girls to keep their alliance together and everything like that.
It just wasn't flash.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
It wasn't a flashy move.
Yeah, exactly. Wub, crazy that all idols were found by San Juan del Sur players of all seasons, and 3 of the final 7 are from that season as well, and 2 of them probably have the 2 best chances. And I'm saying this now. 2 of them probably have the 2 best chances to win in the game.
Yeah, we haven't talked about this lately, but yes, all 3 out of the final 7 are from San Juan del Sur. Man, we got to do a rewatch. That's going to be our off-season rewatch. We probably should pick an older season since we actually already podcasted a little bit of that season at the end. But screw it. I want to watch that season again.
Yeah, we probably have to talk about that one a little bit. Jimmy O'Connor, the 3 GOATs are still in, and Tasha is a stretch to win. We only have 3 potential winners, and 1 will probably go next week. I kind of agree with that. All I can hope is that somehow that finale has Spencer, Jeremy, Tasha, Wentworth. If that's 4 of the 6, even though Tasha's a long shot, that's a pretty solid 4 out of 6 in the finale.
Yeah, it's crazy we're doing 6 of the finale. Are you sure next week isn't a double boot?
I believe it's not. I think that the finale is 6.
Is it going to be like a 4-hour finale?
No, I think it's just 3. I wish they would do a 4-hour finale.
They should do a 24-hour finale.
Yeah, that would be something. I'm sure everybody would keep watching that. Smarty Pants 405. Man, this is mean. Sorry, but you guys are clueless and misreading Spencer's reaction to his girlfriend. Because of Survivor, he was able to say, I love you. I hope
Yeah,
that's
no,
sarcastic. I don't think it's because of Survivor.
that's what they want you to think, that like he misses her and all this stuff. But like, come on, if that's the person you're picking for your family visit, like that's a big deal. Like they're gonna get on TV, they're getting flown out to Cambodia, they're probably gonna stay at some Ponderosa type place. That's a big deal. You don't give that to just someone. Oh yeah, like we met on Tinder, dated for a couple months, didn't say I love you. Like no, like you got to get that done before you go out there. And I think he probably did. And I think he was just trying to like work up Jeremy's emotional brain, trying to get him on his side.
Yeah, no, that's like 100% it. And I think that because that
It's
was
not
given to
100%.
them, given
It's not
no,
100%. It's a
okay,
very
not
strong
100%.
possibility.
Because that's given to the editors, I think they were like, oh my God, now we can make it like a love story happened on Survivor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was very, very contrived. Like this was a produced moment.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, what's next here? Um, Peter Rubenstein. Tasha is such a snitch. That's a bad move to tell Jeremy and Spencer there's no need to work with them. Raises a red flag. I agree, it raises a red flag. I don't think she was meaning to snitch. I don't know if she actually wants to work with the girls, but it's definitely a red flag. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, either it's a snitchy move or a bad move.
Yeah. Then we got Wub again. I bet what Savage was talking about was all votes being nullified by Kelly and Jeremy's idols. Don't remember it ever happening. And then Tom Eisenberg says, Will says he thinks the Savage means a tie will occur. How would Savage know they don't read the votes out loud? And that is a great point. They don't know who wins yet.
Well, they've never read it out loud because there's never been a tie. If Jeff goes and gets to that booth, he reads the votes. Like, if there is a tie, he would tell them. So,
good point.
Yeah.
All right. Dylan Peddle, let's see, because now we're over YouTube. Dylan Peddle is one of the themes this season is you get what you want, and then soon afterwards you're voted off. If Savage wanted to make it to the jury, he becomes the second member of the jury. Then Joe wanted the family visit, and he got voted off. You think that's one of the themes here, Will?
I think that might be a theme for a lot of seasons if they can edit it in. And I think editors love to do that. Like, if you go back and watch Survivor, like when someone finally has a success, like they get taken out. Or if there's something they really had to do, like if they find an idol, or sometimes that will be it. The family visit's a good example of this. I don't necessarily think it's a theme, but it's a trend.
Yeah, it's definitely something they tried to force in because they want to give storylines to these players who go out as soon as the merge hits, and because these are the people who are giving them their money here. You know what I mean? This is where they're getting their viewers, is the likable cast. They don't want to have a bunch of invisible people make it deep into the game, so they have to give a storyline to Joe. They have to give a storyline to Savage and make it a satisfying one for the fans of them. And it was satisfying, I guess, for both sets of fans. You know, Joe makes it to the family visit. At least he got that. You know, Savage makes the jury. At least he got that. So, you're freaking me out, man. Anthony Beam, CBS trolled us with that preview because it looked like Tasha dropped her statue on Spencer. Big exhale when it hit the sand. Yeah, man. And that was like right after Jeff had said, hey, you know, don't drop it. Watch where they're going, all that stuff. I really thought that's what he was getting it.
The preview made it like, I thought I saw it dropping, honestly. They might have even edited that in where like they included just like, Tasha's when it fell. That like they included that footage to scare you. Great editing. And then to include the comment, knowing everyone had seen the preview, kudos to them. Like, that's fun. Yeah. Not that Joe passed out, but it was very, very tricky there. I like it.
Anthony Beam, Keith voted Tasha. He really doesn't know what's happening, though he is still funny. Why do you think he voted Tasha? I really don't know why he threw that vote there. Was it like, I'm not going to vote for Joe? Was that his deal? Like he told Joe he wouldn't vote for him or something, you think?
That sounds like a pretty good story. I'll buy that. Or they just wanted to get Keith's vote. Like, if you don't tell Keith the plan, he can't, stick to it. He can't mess it up. Yeah. So it's like, don't give him the plan. Tell him to just vote for Tasha. And if he messes up voting for Tasha, everything's fine because that's not the real plan anyway.
Yeah, exactly. No, that makes a lot of sense. Ween Dog 2. He's got 6 little points here. MVP is Kimmy for forming the All Girls Alliance. LVP is Spencer for not voting with Joe. 3, surprised West did not come out for the loved ones visit. 4, why did they do a challenge without loved ones? That was a letdown. Would have liked to see Kelly and Dale and Jeremy and Val work together. 5, does not look like they will be doing a Survivor auction, which is quite disappointing. And 6, did not expect Spencer's girlfriend to be that good looking. All very good points here.
These are phenomenal points. I think we almost have talked about all these, maybe not this podcast. I mentioned there not being an auction in the prediction episode. That's a real bummer. That's my favorite Survivor episode each season is the auction. That's my favorite. Yeah, would have liked to see Wes. Spencer's girlfriend is a babe. And yeah, we didn't talk about this. The loved ones didn't participate in the challenge.
Yeah, which, I think that might play into the whole fact of you got Abby Maria's mom. You have like Spencer's like really small girlfriend. Like I think that they didn't want to give advantage to players in this situation who had loved ones who were just in better shape. I mean, Val's pregnant. Like you can't have her going crazy. She's pregnant. And I know it doesn't look like she's very far along. I would assume that they're not going to fly her out there if she's far along in her pregnancy. But, like, still, you can't have her doing some crazy physical task if she's pregnant. They would have had to call somebody else in for Jeremy.
Yeah, I can see that. I also think that they probably decided pretty late that they wanted the family visit to be this early because this is a very early family visit.
Yeah.
At 8. I mean, I guess it's not that. Usually you get it around 7, 6, 5. I think at Cagayan it was at 4.
It was really late in Cagayan.
And they plan these challenges ahead, like we always say. So maybe they didn't have like a challenge where you play with a partner. So they're just like, screw it. They don't need to participate. This is second chance. This is, we're not letting anything go to chance. The players are going to have to get everything done here. So I
would have liked to see Dale get a second chance,
Me too.
It would have been like a fire-making challenge. So let me ask you, though, MVP Kimmy for forming the Girls Alliance. What do you think about that? I think that it has to be Wentworth, but what do you think? Is there an argument for Kimmy here?
Maybe. I don't know if the Girls Alliance plays out because what if, it gets brought up, but what if Tasha isn't interested at all for some reason? Because Tasha has like a little bit of an ego, I think. I think she thinks she's playing a better game than she is, or at least a better game than it appears on the edit. Because she was on Reward one time, and I think Sierra said, if you go to the end with Jeremy, he's going to smoke you in Final Trouble Council. And Tasha goes like, yeah, right, Sierra. Like, how do you know that? But it's so true. And I don't think she sees that. So there's a part of me that thinks she likes Spencer and Jeremy. She maybe likes to, be with them, thinks that she can beat them. So if this Girls Alliance doesn't come through and she didn't lock in Tasha, I don't think we can give MVP to Kimmy. And that's why I think Wentworth, because Wentworth was on the bottom anyway. She only improved, and she won immunity. She won Reward. I mean, I think she did all the right things here. And she voted out Joe. I think Wentworth wins. And she's on your tribe. I'm a fair guy.
Kind of. I mean, I just think it's got to be Wentworth because we really don't know if this, like you said, this Girls Alliance might not be real. Tasha did run and tell Jeremy and Spencer right away, which makes me think it's not going to be real.
Exactly.
Here's another comment that plays into it. Zach Valentine, Joe must be the number one challenge being since he fought to the point his body gave out on him. It felt like the family reward was nothing. We almost got more from Spencer, Tasha, and Jeremy saying it was them going to the final 3. Proud Nurse comments to that. I think the editors might be showing this for a reason. Could this really be the final 3? And that's why I'm thinking that this Girls Alliance might mean nothing, and that's why we can't give it to Kimmy yet.
Yeah, I don't think it's I really don't think it's going to be the final 3. It could be. I would love that to be. But I said this earlier. They needed to edit Spencer and Jeremy more heavily because that's they're the big characters this season. I mean, that's just the way it's going. One of them is probably going to win. Kelly already got the airtime with winning the challenge, so they needed to focus more up before the challenge when they were giving hugs in the intros as opposed to hanging out and saying goodbye. But yeah, not much after the loved one reward.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then John Smith, MVP Wentworth has an idol. That doesn't affect. She didn't do that this episode. Won both challenges in a good spot if the Girls Alliance happens. LVP Abby. Who do you think the LVP was this week? Because his reasoning is just for being Abby in general. Who was the LVP this week, do you think? Because this week there had to have been one. Because people made mistakes this week, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe Tasha. And she's on my team. But
Tasha for slipping up to Jeremy and Spencer like that. Because it's a bad move no matter which way she actually goes in this game now. She stressed them out and she went against the girls. So no matter which way she goes, I think it's a kind of a shaky move.
I don't know. Let's say she's not in on it at all. Like, she just doesn't want anything to do with this Girls Alliance. Like, telling them is probably a good idea. And even if they get nervous, like, they're not going to vote you out. Like, you were the one that came and told them. That's only going to put the targets on everyone else's back. So maybe we shouldn't give Tasha.
So is LVP Spencer then?
What'd he do?
I mean, the reasoning for the other guy, he said LVP Spencer for not voting Joe. I mean, he's in the
But
wrong. He was in the wrong. I mean, I don't know, or not voting with Joe. I'm sorry. He said not voting with Joe. I mean, they seemed like their plan didn't work. I mean, Spencer and Jeremy were on the wrong side tonight.
I mean, if Spencer, Jeremy, Joe, and Keith all voted one way, then it would be Rocks. Like, you can't say not going to Rocks was a bad move.
But I think it's got to be somebody from that alliance who would be LVP. I don't think it can be one of the girls because one of the girls all got rid of Joe, and that seemed to be what they all wanted to do.
See, I would give it to Tasha, but we don't know if that's a bad move yet. I wish
We'll just let people vote for this one.
Let people vote. Are we allowed to like hold back and like wait? Let's see how this plays out. Like then we can give the episode 12 LVP later. Because
I mean, we can do whatever we want.
Because if Tasha is all against it, then this was probably maybe a good idea to tell them. And,
yeah, that's true.
But if she's totally for it, then you might want to give MVP to Tasha because she was adamant in not voting out Abby, and she did end up voting Joe. So, I don't know.
LVP is always hard. I think we just let everybody vote and see what the numbers come back and see who they all lean towards and just give it to that one because I don't really have – there's good reasons for a bunch of people this episode, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you could go Abby too, just for like being on the chopping block and almost going home and making no effort to save herself. That could be it too. I don't know. We might not do LVP next season, or maybe it'll be easier next season because we don't have like an all-star cast. Because this has been a problem that's kind of happened, almost every episode. We're like struggling to pick someone who's LVP, which it shouldn't be this hard. And it's mainly because they get voted off. Like there's a vote out each week, and that takes away someone that obviously made mistakes.
Yeah, because the other people don't seem to be making mistakes throughout the episode. Like when their alliance members go home, Diego Urena. Could Keith be considered a challenge threat after this? And do you think he has chances to win the game? Also, did you like the edit of this episode? I think it was quite obvious since almost the beginning that Joe was going.
Keith doesn't have a chance to win. He's a huge threat for immunity. I don't mind the edit here. I think Joe's been really picking up a lot, so this didn't seem that weird to get a lot of Joe. Because if he survives this, I think it kind of the edit would make sense. The story would make sense if Abby goes, like, again, he's saying, look, I'm not winning immunity and I'm still getting through. That was kind of played up. And then Abby, I guess we would have needed a little bit more of Abby. That would probably be the only thing.
Yeah. No, I kind of agree. I think we would have needed a little bit more Abby. But then again, Abby's not a huge player post-merge, so I wouldn't have been surprised if Abby went home.
Exactly. If Abby goes, I'm not shocked.
No, exactly. So, I mean, they did play it up that it was going to be Joe from the beginning. Then when Joe goes, it is a little bit of like a underwhelming finale, I think, there. But, if Abby goes, I would have been
Monica
shocked.
going home was way more telegraphed. Wu going home was more telegraphed. Wigglesworth going home was more telegraphed. Cass, Cass was pretty telegraphed too. I think
that's what's great about this season, though. They've been telegraphing a lot of the boots, and they've still been great boots.
Yeah, and then there's been a good amount that have been like a toss-up. So especially last week with the double episode, those were both very good.
Yeah. 5 white guys. If Kelly Wentworth makes Final Tribal, I think it's her game to win. Jeremy's had a favorable edit, but this Joe vote was poor, and so was Steven, save in hindsight. Spencer has the best case to beat her. I would love that Final 3. If that somehow miraculously was the Final 3, that would be the best Final 3 ever.
Of all time.
Of all time. Would just be amazing to see why people voted for who they voted for. I'm hoping we can just get 2 out of those 3. But if we can get all 3 of them, oh my God, that would just be too good.
Yeah, we need 2 for a good one. We need 3 for a great one. Well, even 2 would probably be great. If we only get 1, it's a bummer.
It's not going to be so good. Yeah, it's over. 5 white guys. Tasha will be the swing vote. Next vote, clearly. And Jeremy and Spencer's games are very dependent on it. I think that's 100% right. 5 white guys again. What is going to be great is that the 2 hidden immunity idols pitted against each other right now. I honestly cannot predict who will play his or hers first. It's going to be whoever Tasha hints that she's not siding with, I think.
Yeah, I think it's very possible Tasha plays both sides, and then they both have to play the idol out of just fear that Tasha will flip, and they both get played. That could very well happen.
Very well happen. 5 white guys, is there a superior winner's edit prevalent in your guys' opinion? Definitely. I say definitely not. Just because there's 3 who have such a great case to win.
Yeah,
Um,
three. There's three. I think Jeremy Still's a little bit ahead of the pack. Wentworth, though, man, she's always cooking. And then Spencer had a huge episode tonight.
yeah. Five white guys. I think Abby was a must take on the reward, especially by Kelly. Can never risk pissing her off. Plus, it further solidifies her loyalty. I think that's a great point because Abby would have totally taken this the wrong way. Let's see. Next, Dylan Peddle. What's more dangerous to Spencer and Jeremy's game? The possible all girls alliance or Joe pulling off another immunity run? As couldn't they have voted out? Yeah, I agree, and that's why he's like, hey, let's vote off Abby. Be like, hey, maybe Joe will push himself to the point of passing out a future immunity challenge, and then we vote him off again. Still would have been a big risk either way. I think the girls alliance is way scarier than Joe. Joe's one person. The girls alliance is literally going to vote you out of the game if they can.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Five white guys. Joe's argument about Abby plays right into Jeremy's whole shield philosophy. So for Jeremy to vote for Joe meant that he truly had to be very scared of Joe's resilience. I guess that's a good point.
I think we have to wait for that on the exit interview. See why they didn't vote Abby out, because it seems like Abby is the obvious vote here. And I'm still saying it's Tasha. Like it would have been rocks if they were going to vote Joe. Like, or if they were going to vote Abby, like it would have been 4-4, and you're not going to do rocks at final 8. Like that's just not going to happen, especially when you're getting out such a big threat like Joe. So we have to hear about that. I agree. Getting rid of Abby was the right move, but if you don't have the numbers to do it, then you can't blame them. It's not like that was dumb. It's just like they couldn't get Tasha.
Yeah. Just real quick, there's 3 more left here, and then we'll read any other ones we'll read on Sunday. D6 comedy. Tasha isn't in the girls' alliance. She has a guaranteed final 3 with Spencer and Jeremy from the earlier scene in the episode. Plus, she told them about the alliance. I mean, that seems to make the most sense right now, but I could see her being in the girls' alliance.
Yeah, she also said she was keeping her options open. So, yeah, it's nice to have a final 3 deal, but look who that final 3 is. Like, that's Spencer and Jeremy. Exactly. I don't know if that's what you want to be. You can say all you want. Yeah, loyalty. It's like, why you don't want to be guaranteed 3rd place when you can, have a 50% chance at 1st place.
Exactly. Zach Valentine, have they ever had an immunity challenge at Tribal before? Maybe that's what Savage is talking about. They've had immunity challenges at Tribal numerous times. Earlier seasons, they did it all the time. Last comment, 5 white guys. Who are you giving your Jerry vote to if the final 3 are Wentworth, Spencer, and Jeremy? Who are you giving it to?
Oh, man, I got to see how the rest plays out, and I got to hear their cases. I'll tell you this much.
Right now, if it was right
that
now.
Is the 3, if that is the 3 there, I go into Final Tribal not with my mind made up. I'll give them that at least. But we're not out there. This question, I don't like this question. I will say I'd probably vote for Spencer just because he hasn't played an idol yet. And he probably won't play an idol in the future. And it's very likely Jeremy will play another one and that Kelly will play another one. And the way that Kelly got that second one, I mean, no one's going to use that argument against her in Final Tribal. You found it during a reward challenge, like the luckiest thing ever. No one knows that. But watching from the edit, I would say Spencer, is on the Takeo tribe to start, which is not, never good. I guess Kelly was too, but Spencer went through a lot. I'd give it to Spencer.
I would probably give mine to Wentworth just because I think that she's had to – I mean, I know Spencer at the beginning of the game had no numbers, but I think since the merge, Wentworth has had no reason to still be in this game. And if she somehow made the final 3, that is just a complete underdog story. That shows great gameplay to make your way all the way there. I know she had to play an idol, but hey, they're part of the game now, and I don't fault somebody.
Oh, right. No, I don't fault. I'm just, if I have to pick out something. But I'd love to hear their cases. Kelly Wentworth is also, really hot, so that might play in as well. Man. And Spencer's taken, so. I
think that's why that's why Kelly did not take Spencer, because she didn't want to take him on the rework because she wanted to be the only really hot blonde on the island. And she was pissed that Spencer's girlfriend was hot. And she was like, forget that. That girl gets to shower and she's good looking. No way she's coming on my island.
That makes sense.
That's what happened.
That makes
sense.
All
jealousy. Not even jealousy, just cattiness, But yeah, anyway, we'll be back on Sunday with our our predictions episode. We're down to final 7 now. This is exciting.
Yeah, man, you get trouble saying that, huh?
I know, because that's your line, but you wouldn't take it. You're sitting there, you're staring at something. You got anything else?
I would have said the line if you didn't start saying it. I'm not going to go one word at a time here. Next. You're supposed to say Sunday or week or I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, I don't even know.
Exactly. That's why we don't do it this way. We say something. Okay. We're done here. Make sure to like this video, subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. Thank you for listening. We will see you Sunday for our predictions podcast.